Good day everyone! We are the Group 3 of 2BTLE HEA and we're going to talk about one of the most common sorts of technological resources. The resources of technology can be further subdivided into 7 categories: the people, information, materials, tools and machines, energy, capital, and time. So we're going to talk about the materials only. This includes the types of resources, its history, proponents, and industrial revolutions. So let me start by defining what's material. An object that is made up of a substance or a combination of substances is known as a material. Pure or impure, living or non-living substance are all examples of materials. Synthesis can be used to create new materials from existing ones. Materials are input into manufacturing processes that are used to create goods or more complicated materials in industry. The characteristic of different materials varies. You can figure out how a material can be used by looking at its qualities. The physical and chemical qualities of a substance can be used to identify it in a variety of ways. Materials can also be described by their properties. Materials' behavior and applications can be influenced by its characteristics. The qualities of a substance can also alter depending on how the materials is handled or stored.
The first type of materials is so-called raw materials. By the definition, the raw materials, also known as feedstock, unprocessed materials, or primary commodity, is a basic material that is used to produce goods, finished products, energy, or intermediate materials that are feedstock for future finished products. As feedstock, the term connotes this material are bottleneck assets and are required to produce other products. Raw materials also used by non-humans such as birds, using found objects and twigs to create nests. Though all the raw materials are obtained naturally, they can be divided into 3 based according to where it is derived from, such as we have here first, plant or tree base. The second one is the animal base, and the third one is the mining base. For the first one, we have here some of the examples, which are vegetables, fruits, flour, wood, and latex that are obtained by tree or plant base. For the second one, we have a leather, meat, bones, milk, wool, and silk that are obtained by animal base. So, for the third one, we have minerals, metals, crude oil, coal, and etc. that are obtained by mining earth. A country holding a great amount of materials does not require importing of as many raw materials. Raw materials play an important role in the production process to great extent as the success of the economy of a country is determined by the amount of natural resources held by a country within its borders.
Hi, I am Celray Vanessa and another type of materials is called synthetic materials. Synthetic materials are made by chemically changing the starting substance to create a material with different characteristics. Some examples of synthetic materials are plastics, medicines, and new fuels. A synthetic substance may be chemically identical to a naturally occurring substance or may be different. So synthetic materials comes with a wide variations. Examples are synthetic fiber, polyester, nylon, ceramics, polymers, artificial food and medicines, and composites. But making and using synthetic materials have both positive and negative impacts on the society. Synthetic materials, which are byproducts of petroleum, are non-biodegradable. Synthetic products take a long time to decompose, making a long-term pollution. Majority are easy to recycle, but some are not. They accumulate to landfills and oceans that become harmful to humans. In general, synthetic materials used in the production are useful because they have very different or enhanced properties in comparison to natural materials.
Materials have been shaped by human history since the dawn of civilization. The history of materials has evolved from the use of natural materials such as wood, rock, and animal skin to man-made materials such as ceramics, metals, glasses, and semiconductors. The entire periods of time define the predominant use of the materials. It started from the Bronze Age until Technology Age. Bronze Age. The first tools produced by humans were made from stone. Humans started making objects from metals such as gold, copper, and silver. However, these materials are soft and can only be used for jewelry and decorative items, pots and pans for cooking rather than tools. Then, it was discovered that adding other elements to copper, particularly tin, which is a bronze, made it much stronger and harder, therefore suitable for tools. Bronze could also be molded and worked into different shapes more easily than stones, leading to more sophisticated tools and the first swords. Iron Age. More widespread production of iron-based objects commenced in both Europe and Asia. Much of this focused on the manufacture of weaponry such as shields, swords, and armor made from steels. Early metallurgists found that a very small addition of carbon to iron combined with heat treatments lead to a massive increase in strength. Roman Age. Eureka moment was the discovery of lead, which was then used for roofing, building ornaments, water pipes, and coffins. Through the quest for metals, the Romans moved Britain from a primitive region into a world with law, schools, highways, business, and agriculture. In the end, the lead sent them all crazy and is widely believed to have led to the fall of the Roman Empire. Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution heralded an unprecedented age of rapid industrial and economic growth that transformed European society into engineers, scientists, explorers, and even colonialists. These achievements resulted principally from the use of coke, a carbonaceous material produced from coal and blast furnace iron making. In spite of the environmental concerns regarding the carbon sources, it should be noted that the quality of life and the economic prosperity that are prevalent now would have not been possible without this key material. Technology Age. A tiny, postage stamp-sized sliver of material, which is called the silicon chip, is the most influential invention of our time. A perfectly orchestrated collection of imperfect materials that allow it to behave in many different ways. It is the electronic brain that runs the world. Computers were invented beforehand, but the silicon microchip is the advancement. The history of materials. Study how different materials were used and developed through the history of Earth and how this affects the culture and the life of the people.
In modern history, Industrial Revolution is the process of change from an agrarian and handicraft economy to one dominated by industry and machine manufacturing. These technological changes introduced novel ways of working and living and fundamentally transformed society. The Industrial Revolution began in Britain and spread to the rest of the world, including the United States, by the 1830s and 40s. Modern historians often refer to this period as the first Industrial Revolution to set it apart from a second period of industrialization that took place from the late 19th to early 20th centuries and saw rapid advances in the steel, electric, and automobile industries. The main features involved in the Industrial Revolution were technological, socioeconomic, and cultural. The technological changes included the following. First, the use of new basic materials, chiefly iron and steel. Second, the use of new energy sources including both fuels and motive power such as coal, the steam engine, electricity, petroleum, and the internal combustion engine. Third, the invention of new machines such as the spinning jenny and the power loom that permitted increased production with a smaller expenditure of human energy. Fourth, a new organization of work known as the factory system, which entailed increased division of labor and specialization of a function. Fifth, important developments in transportation and communication, including the steam locomotive, steamship automobile, airplane, telegraph, and radio, and lastly, the increasing application of science to industry. These technological changes made possible a tremendously increased use of natural resources and the mass production of manufactured goods. All in all, goods that had once been painstakingly crafted by hand started to be produced in mass quantities by machines in factories, thanks to the introduction of new machines and techniques in textiles, iron making, and other industries.
So many inventions were developed during the Industrial Revolution, making the earlier industrialized nation powerful, and one of the significant and notable invention was the steam engine by James Watt during the late 1700s. The steam engine started to replace water and wind power. Eventually, it became the dominant source of power in the late 19th century and the early decades of 20th century. James Watt was a Scottish inventor and a mechanical engineer who improved the new common steam engine with his Watt steam engine in 1776. The birth of his version of the steam engine made a remarkable change in the trend of the manufacturing industry. Due to the growth of the steam engine, it has become the key power supply that has led to the industrializations of many countries as a result. As the technology advances, not only machines that supply power were created back then, but also a revolutionary method of communication was made, the telegraph. Its main purpose was for convenient communication between people in distance. Samuel Morse invented the electric telegraph in the year between 1832 to 1835. All the system needed was a key, a battery, a wire, a line of poles between the stations for a wire and the receiver. These two inventions made and developed by these two people were just a few examples of the product of technology that uses the common material as one of its resources. With the tremendous change that took place in many fields in history, the discovery of the materials used in the production and manufacturing of all these well-known inventions has become historic. It is very evident that materials, as one of the resources of the technology, plays a significant role in building a progressive nation.